The movie starts in 2135 CC that the Earth's population was at its peak. A spaceship named Elysium was created, carrying many people who had to travel to a different planet. But then, a message was received stating that all the people on Earth had died and only the inhabitants of Elysium were still alive. Then after a while, we are shown that a man opens his eyes in his sleeping chamber, removes his mask and was screaming loudly, but no one hears his voice. In the chamber in which he was sleeping, his name was written on it, then he slowly comes to his senses. He takes out the star from his body, but that man did not remember anything that where he came from and who he is. There was no light there either. He takes a flashlight and goes to his companion's chamber. He tries to open his sleeping chamber, but it does not open either. He tries to go to the captain's chamber in his uniform, but it was not opening either. Then he hits him hard with a rod. Then suddenly the electricity became fast and his companion, whose name was Patton, his sleeping chamber also opens. But both did not remember anything that who they are and why they were in the sleeping chamber. What is their mission? Now they both try to send their message. There was something written on his hand like number 5, meaning he was of group 5. He did not know where his other companions were. Then he hears some sounds from above. He follows that sound and goes up, while Patton was looking at him more in the computer. But as soon as he goes up, his breath was stopping. When he turns on the light to check the board, his third companion's dead body was lying there. Looking at which it seemed that he would have died here many years ago. He falls down in fear of him. He had come to the third department. There were also many sleeping chambers there. But he sees a girl there. When he was turning on the light on her, the girl hides. Patton was also not getting the signal of the board. He also sees a man there. Looking at whom it seemed that he would have killed himself many years ago. Suddenly the girl comes and attacks the board and tells him to take off his shoes. But when she was doing this, they both hear a very scary voice. That girl had run away in fear. The board sees strange creatures there. But he was silent after seeing them. And he also stops his breath. That creature was very dangerous. And was growling loudly. Then the signals are also found. And Patton loudly calls the board. But the creature also hears the same voice. And he attacks the board. But somehow the board escaped from him. And along with him, Patton says that we have to call the rescue team soon. He says that this NCM ship was not designed to be taken back. In this, 60,000 people had left to go to a planet. Now he will stop there. Then the board remembers some old memories. That when he was very young and was watching TV with his parents. In which it was being told that people will be sent to a planet. Where trees, plants, air, water, everything is very good. And they will be sent to the LCM ship. Then he also remembers his wife. He thinks that if she is also on this ship, then I will have to save her. But Patton, who was in contact with him, tells him to calm down. We will have to save this ship first. We will do the rest later. When the board goes to start the ship's reactor, he was scared. He thinks that something might happen to him. That's why he tries to focus on other things with fear. Then he sees a man who had come to his senses a long time ago. The board looks at his arms on which number 6 was written. It is understood that this group is the man of 6. That man applies some liquid on his body so that the creature cannot smell him. Then he hears the creature's voice. Now they both try to hide. At that time, the board was about to fall down from there. But he catches a rope and escapes. His transmitter was also broken. Because of which he was in contact with Patton. Their contact was also over now. Creatures attack him again. But a man comes and saves the board. The number was also written on his hand. From which it is known that he was from some other department. They both now go to the food area. Where the girl who had attacked the board earlier attacks them again. Here again they heard the creature's voice. This girl's name was Nadia. She says that the reactor room is very dangerous. And whoever went there never came back alive. The board says whatever it is. But we have to take the risk. We have to save our spaceship. Nadia was also believing the board. She tells here that I had come out of my sleeping chamber 6 months ago. Nadia keeps her hand here. So a door opens. They go to that room which was very bright. Nadia says that I used to live with my friends in this area. I had collected the cells of many plants and animals. So that we can go to the planet where we are going and live a good life. Then the board remembers that it will take them 120 years to reach that planet. Nadia gives him something to eat. and says that it has been 8 years since we have gone on our journey. When Patton goes ahead, he finds a man whose body was strange and sticky. And he was not even able to speak. But he tells him shivering that I am of Group 6. This is what happened to me after going to Captain Bridge. Captain Bridge was the same place where the reactor of this spaceship was. Now here we see that the Board and his companions reach another room where all the sleeping chambers were empty. Nadia says that I think that even among them, humans have woken up before time, who have now become creatures. When they go a little further, they fall into a vent where there was a lot of mud. Anyway, he saves Nadia and himself. But here too the creatures had come. Who attacked them? These 3 attacked them by escaping them. A creature was trying to attack them with its pointed thorns. But they escape from here. On the other hand, a man comes to Patton, who tells him that the captain and my team, he had a very bad Pandora's box. Actually, Pandora is such a disease that only astronauts have. They get strange diseases. And their emotions are more than before. Along with this, new emotions also come to them. He says that he was going to kill me. But somehow I escaped. Patton was not believing the words of that man. There the war companions hide in one place. There they find a man who makes them food. He had also woken up a while ago from his sleeping chamber. Here Nadia tells everyone that these creatures, they were also humans before. But they woke up before time. The medicines used to make them sleep. They had the opposite effect on them. And because of this effect, they became creatures. They're the man who was with Patton. He says that I think that you too may have become Pandora. They're the man who had fed the boar and Nadia. He was also telling them the same thing. That man tells Patton that for many years everyone was in the sleeping chamber and slept for many years. But our captains kept changing. But when it was the turn of Group 4, then we got the last message from the ground that everything is over on the ground. Here in the entire solar system, humans are only alive on the LCM ship. Hearing this, there was a ruckus in the spaceship. And I killed all my companions. After a while I got bored. And then I started waking people up and bringing them out of the chamber. But very soon I got bored of these things too. And then I went to my sleeping chamber. And humans had woken up before time. They all became creatures. From which the whole ship was filled with evil. There the boar and his companions were also unconscious. Because the man who had fed them, he had mixed the medicine of unconsciousness. Patton was also suffering from pendulum. There when the boar and his companions came to their senses, they were hanging upside down. The man who had fed them, he says that I will kill you. Boar says that if you kill us like this, then we can never repair the spaceship. By which we will all get stuck here and die. Hearing this, the man leaves the boar and his companions. Boar and his team now move ahead. Boar contacts Patton and says that we have to run the reactor soon. We have only 47 minutes. Now they were moving towards their destination. As soon as they go ahead, they find a baby creature, which was screaming and calling its parents. Because now those creatures had also started giving birth to children. They're the man who was with Patton. Says that your companion boar can never start the reactor. Because when he was in the sleeping chamber, then he had lost all his skills. Patton says to that man that you keep quiet. Very soon Boar will run the reactor. When Boar was going with his companions, then he sees a lot of chambers there, which were all empty. Means one of them came out before time. There were a lot of creatures here who were feeling the electricity here and were sleeping very comfortably. Then suddenly a creature wakes up. But later he himself fell asleep. Boar was slowly moving forward to run the reactor. Then that bridge suddenly breaks, on which Boar was walking, and goes and falls in the middle of the creature. He wraps the creature's skin on his body so that those creatures do not get the fragrance of humans. But by mistake that man who was showing the way to Boar, his light falls in the middle of the creatures. All the creatures were awake. But Boar had reached the reactor very soon. He runs the reactor fast. That man who was showing the way to Boar, who was his companion, attacks those creatures with his spear. As soon as the reactor starts there, all the creatures who were there by his walk, all of them were quiet. Their Boar and Nadia were also running away from the creatures. When Boar's third companion was moving forward attacking the creatures, then a baby creature came in front of him, who was looking at him with a lot of innocence, but suddenly attacks him. He cuts his neck. The man who was near the bed. He was trying to kill him with his gun. But then suddenly their bodies start to meet. And suddenly that man disappeared. Who told the whole story to Peyton? That man who had fed Boar and his companions with the medicine of unconsciousness. He wanted to tell something to Peyton here. But Peyton also shoots him and kills him. Then Boar and Nadia also came there. Peyton sits on the chair of the captain. Who was saying that I am not Peyton. When Boar hears this, he goes near him and asks him with a gun. He says, "Tell me, who are you?" He says, "I am the captain who got the last message from the ground. And I have made all the humans creatures here. And my work has been going on for 20 years. But then I got bored and went back to my sleeping pot. Not mine, your friend, Captain Peyton's." He tells Captain Boar that we should accept our fear. And opens a door from above. When Nadia looks up, she understands that they had already reached that planet. Which is in the middle of the sea. Then they come to know that they have been stuck in this spaceship for 923 years. It meant that those humans who have now become creatures. If they had woken up after 800 years, they would never have become creatures. After hearing all this, Boar has a pendulum. He accidentally fires his gun. This ruined one part of the ship. And water starts coming inside the ship. Boar took Nadia and went to a pot. And burns it. The pot that was going up, these two were not able to breathe because of the water. After a while, their pot had reached above the water. They see the ground after so many years. Along with them, the rest of the pots had also come above the water. The captain was stuck on the Elysium ship there. It meant that the captain who was with Boar was not the real captain. In fact, there was another captain. The captain had died long ago. And that captain was doing all this as a captain. In the same way, Boar and Nadia reach the water after so many years and see the ground. And will start their life. And with this, the film story ends here. Thanks for